Hey, welcome back to the channel. I can't believe it. We are standing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at Harley-Davidson. What's up?
Well, we were just here not so long ago. Now it's a little bit cooler and a little bit more windy. Check the hair out. Well, guess what? We have a great opportunity today. We're sitting down with the president, CEO, and chairman of the board, Jochen Zeitz. Can't wait to dive into the stories, man.
Hey, come along for the ride.
Well, we made it inside the vault. Let's just get right into it.
We are here. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, I can't see myself on the monitor, Josh.
Oh, that's right.
So where are we talking?
You look great. You look 10 out of 10.
Are we live?
We're live.
We're live.
Away.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to thank you personally for joining us and having us out here. This has been really exciting for us to think about sitting down with you. We've broken bread with you in the past up in New Mexico, but to have you with us here, it's just extremely, we're excited for that.
Thanks for inviting me to your amazing show. Big fan.
We have fun. We're a fan of yours as well.
Thank you.
So I look here, we're in the vault, the archive, we're in the vault.
And all the treasures are.
The treasure chest, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I look at all these bikes and we've been here probably 4 times and it never gets old. It's just, it's the history in here is just amazing.
It is. And it's the favorite place of my family and my young kids to come to the museum in Milwaukee. It's like, can we go to the museum, please? They just love it.
The tank wall.
The tank wall is their favorite,
insane,
actually.
Right?
They're like, I want this tank. I want that tank.
Oh, yeah. We've filmed that thing so many times. It's beautiful. It's a great piece of art.
It is. Yeah. I mean, the history speaks, right? It sort of comes alive over the decades, 121 years. And I love this place.
So speaking of history, would you mind talking a little bit about your upbringing in Germany? And
am I part of history already?
And you're part of the history, yes, of getting you here to the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a sort of mid-sized town, Mannheim, Germany. Lots of American GIs that were stationed in Mannheim. So I got to play American football as a teenager. I decided not to play soccer, but going to American football, was a terrible player as a tight end, but I really enjoyed it very much. All the good players were all Americans, and they threw in a few Germans. But growing up as a kid, I always had that fascination for the Wild West and for America. And I said, one day I will come to America and live the dream. And there was, I don't know what, I keep asking myself what made me just aspire to become American at some point and live in America. But there was a dream that I had from an earlier stage, early life. And I got into Westerns. We used to have these tape recorders back then where you had to click, 2 tabs and then recorded the soundtracks of all those Westerns and just played them at night. And it was always a fascination. I don't know where that came from.
So it was soundtracks more than movies? Or were we
movies and soundtracks, but I didn't want to, when I couldn't watch the movies, I wanted to listen to the soundtracks. So, yeah.
Well, I always said everybody wants to be a cowboy.
I was starting to. I was known for the guy who wears cowboy boots when I was 14.
Really?
That's all I wore, cowboy boots.
Did you ever ride a horse?
I did. I actually, as a young 8-year-old, I started horseback riding and then stopped. But I changed the horse for a motorcycle when I was 16.
Wow.
That's what I was going to ask you. So what, you started riding when you were 16?
Yeah, and it was really that. I can get out of the house and take my little Vespa to school and see my friends. It was sort of that liberation of now being mobile. So it became sort of my way of getting out of the house and meeting friends wherever they lived. And so I started with a little Vespa and then got my proper motorcycle license when I was 18.
Interesting.
Did wheelies and all the crazy stuff you do as a kid. Made sure the bike was faster than it was supposed to go, did all the fiddling with my muffler, and had a lot of fun.
Well, we didn't see any wheelies when we rode together.
I know. Well, the big bikes, I'm a little bit more careful.
And a little bit older. You got to be careful.
That's true. That's for sure.
We're not old.
No. We're
a
just
little bit old.
Little bit old.
We think,
So we were just talking about Monument Valley, and you think about the Westerns and all, and you and your family may take a look at that in the next little bit, huh?
Yes, we're planning to do so. So first time I actually started in Phoenix as a 22-year-old. That was my dream of, also living in America. So I started in Phoenix and I made sure I had no classes on Friday. And our friends and my friends and I, we would just rent a car and then just drive around the country. So we would Friday, Saturday, and would come back very late at night on Sundays. And that was the first time I went to Monument Valley. And next weekend, I'm going to take the family to some of the, possibly starting actually the Four Corners, maybe with Mesa Verde, and then some of the national parks of Arizona. It's the first time back, so I'm really excited to do that. And I'll probably ride the motorcycle, and the kids and my wife take the car.
There you go. Have you been to Page, Arizona?
I have been, yes.
That's nice too.
Yeah, very. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we did a whole piece in Page, and we just happened to show up, and it was their balloon regatta.
Yeah, well, I was at Thunderbird. That was the university at the time, and we had the balloon festival on campus, and so I know Flagstaff, Tombstone, all those areas very well.
Well, we're hoping to experience what you've experienced. We have not experienced Monument Valley at night to see the star show.
We actually camped there at the time.
Oh, wow.
Illegally.
We stayed on the San Juan River.
Yeah.
On the mountain, spent the night.
But we had
could have got
noise pollution.
Yeah, but we could have got up at 3 a.m. and went in. It's only 10 minutes away.
Yeah, that's true.
But we're going to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to do it.
Well, let me know. I might join you.
So as you think about riding motorcycles and the freedom of that, you've been around this place a long time, right? Since 2007?
Yeah. I mean, that dream of the Wild West, and as I said, it was a horse, and now it's the motorcycle. It's kind of a replacement of the horse, isn't it? But you can go a lot further and a lot faster too. So I always just loved that freedom of riding a motorcycle. It just sort of freed my mind from all the nonsense going on in the world, and just being in peace with yourself and just enjoying the ride and meeting great people. I think to me it's also, the motorcycle is the tool, but it gets you to places that are beautiful and nature that you can experience and meet incredible folks along the way that you otherwise probably would never meet in your life. So exactly. I just look at it as an incredible tool and fun tool to have to get around and see places.
Well, oftentimes we're calmed up so we can talk to each other as we're riding. And we'll be coming through just a desolate place, and both of our minds go to, hey, the cowboys probably came across here, the wagon train came through here, and totally. We're kind of replicating that on motorcycles and pavement, but it's something that you can associate with when you're out in the Wild West.
100%. And I have a library of books about the history of America and the Wild West and the Southwest and all those places back then, and when I travel through them, I always get remembered of how it used to be, 100 plus years ago.
I mean, we're 100 miles an hour. We're going. How slow were they going? I just watched the movie Horizon.
Right.
And they're traveling in the wagons and the horse. And it's like, I kind of want to try that, but
it was a little romanticized.
Yeah.
I think it was probably a lot rougher than the movies show. I haven't seen Horizon yet, but
no, they showed some pretty rough stuff, some bad times. It was like, wow,
yeah,
you're glad you're on a motorcycle now.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, that's the fabric of the country, right? Is people are tough and they're traveling across the country in these little wagons and horses, and just I can't imagine how they did it. It's just that's a hard walk.
Yeah, well, my first trip through America was from New York, the northern route, and then a bit of the Oregon Trail, and then I went into the Rocky Mountains and drove all the way down to Phoenix and LA, and it was sort of in the footsteps of the pioneers, which is quite extraordinary to see. And some of the Oregon Trail you can still travel today as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, that's why we do the 2 lanes, because we actually call our bikes time machines. And every time we go into a small town, you're going back in time and you meet people, family, legacy. And that's exactly what you're saying. And we love that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about a little bit about this in our studio, and a lot of the riders that are out there served in the military. And you think about this wind therapy, you've got to be proud of representing a brand that really helps people get through their everyday trauma.
100%. And I think all of us as riders can relate to that. It just frees your mind, and it is freedom truly lived, and it's incredible to see that what a motorcycle can do to people's minds and psyche, and that it's helping folks. Ever since World War II, people come back from the war with PTSD and just sort of using riding to free themselves. I think it's incredible, and you hear those stories every day, and that makes us very proud to build these bikes for the military and for the veterans.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'll share a story with you. We were at homecoming. No, we were at Sturgis, Black Hills Harley-Davidson. We were doing a meet and greet, and this was a year ago, and it was raining, and a family came through, and they stopped by just to say hello to us because their loved one was afflicted with cancer, and he was dying. Mm-hmm. And so we said, well, let's get on the phone with them. And we got on the phone and talked to him, and he looked disheveled and just very thin. And a year to the date, so this year we're back in Sturgis, the man showed up, and he'd kicked cancer. And he said, just because of that phone call, it made me say, F the devil, I'm going to go straight to healing. And he ended up showing up, and it gave us tears. And
that's incredible.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And that's something motorcycles have done.
It sure has. I had a dealer calling me. Actually, he wrote me an email 6 months ago, and he said he had a customer that had cancer, and he had like 3 months to live, and his dream was to get our new trike, and we didn't have it at the time. There was shortages, and he says, is there any chance you can get him that trike? That's his dream. And I made a few phone calls, and we got him the trike, and next thing I got a photograph from him being happily on his trike. I hope he's still around. I don't know, but so we try to make people happy.
Oh, that's great. I mean, talk about happy. We don't own cars. Our wives have cars, so we are daily riders. So every day is a good day for us because we're always riding.
Well, good. That's I have a 7 and 8 year old, so I had to get a prototype with a sidecar, electric light revival with a sidecar, so I can take the kids out and the dog. So,
we actually saw you take off with your kids in the sidecar.
We've seen him ride a horse.
Yes, we have.
And you see me ride a horse. There you go.
I think there was a stagecoach around too.
Yes, there was a stagecoach for sure.
That was a good time.
That's the advantage of having 2 movie ranches around the corner, right?
That's great. Do you hang out at the movie ranches at night, like no one's around with your 6-shooter?
You carry a sidearm?
Well, not here.
Gotcha.
Not in Milwaukee.
Not in Milwaukee. Talk to us a little bit about when you first came to Harley, because you were on the board of directors.
I was, yeah.
And so you've been one of the longest standing members, part of the board, and now it's president, CEO, and chairman.
Yeah. I mean, you realize when you become the CEO what you don't know when you're a board member. Right. So it was quite an experience. And in 2020, I was asked to become the CEO in February of 2020. And the first decision I had to take was to shut down the factory. So it was quite a sort of entering the unknown, quite dramatic situation, as you know, with COVID just starting to hit. And we had to raise $2 billion within no time to keep everything going, not knowing how long we'd be shut down, and you'd be burning $100 million a week. Wow. Because there was no cash flow coming in. And so that was quite dramatic. And then, from there we went into supply shortages, me yelling and screaming at suppliers, not giving us semiconductors so we could build bikes. And so there was always some drama that we had to deal with. We got through that. And, now we're in a more difficult situation from a demand perspective. I think overall there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and it's not helping demand, but we'll get through that. And then there's the next thing on the horizon. But what's the constant is that we have time to ride our motorcycles. And that's always when you have a lot of, shitty news and things to deal with, and you just get on a bike and enjoy yourself. That always makes things nice at the end of the day. Well,
we have been riding on our channel for 4 years. We've been riding 10 plus years. And this year, and this is a fact that we've seen so many new bikes on the road, more than we've ever seen. And we've traveled a lot. We're like, look at this is great. Then you hear the news, the economy is bad, things are happening, but it's like, visually, we're like, people are buying.
concerted effort in 2020 to really change our overall product lineup. There were no investments planned for our core businesses, which is, touring bikes, the Softails and our trikes. There was no money allocated for our core American categories really and models, and we changed that upside down and decided to put most of the investment into our core businesses, which led to the launch of our new touring bikes, which very much differentiate themselves from what we visually, but also in technology and performance and everything. From the last touring bikes we only updated, not changed significantly over 10 years ago. So you see a lot of visual change and performance change to our business. And then, I started an important development that's really getting into racing in a new way, right? I mean, we obviously have a long history, always been in racing, but tying that to our core business was something that was important. And when we saw that exhibition race in 2020 in Laguna Seca with Baggers Racing, spilling a lot of oil on the track.
Right.
I was like, this is so cool. We've got to do something with it. Called Motor America and said, why don't we set up a racing series? And the rest is history. And King of the Baggers is one of the most exciting motorcycle races ever. And I just love that. And so tying our racing heritage to our core business was something that I thought was a great opportunity. And that led to the development of the new bikes that we just launched earlier this year, and our new CVO ST, which is a rocket, and more to come. And now we're into hooligan racing, super hooligan, which is also another opportunity to give our adventure touring bikes a platform to race with. So,
well, we want to do a parade lap at one of the King of Bagger races.
Well,
on our touring bikes, right?
We love the ST. I mean, if we could do that with our company, we would have gotten 3 of them. But that is probably the funnest bike I've ridden straight out of the box.
And that was fully inspired by our King of the Baggers racing series. I mean, all that knowledge and technology coming out of racing. How do you take weight out, optimize it for the track and traction and lean angle and performance. I mean, that led straight to the CVO ST, which is great. That's how it should be. And that's what racing gives you as an inspiration, really.
Well, we've talked about it ad nauseum at our shop. Being on a touring bike and the stunt guys doing these wheelies and drifting, and not every guy can do that. But every guy can crack the throttle. Maybe they shouldn't, right? Because the capability might not, but they can crack and go.
Yeah.
And that's the feeling you get on this bike. And the young kids that ride with us, they make fun of me, but I call it the Kyle Wyman maps. When you get the 2 different or 3 different mapping on the thing, and man, it really opens up. And
and the ride modes are just
bike.
whatever you want to have, sporty mode, and off you go. Yeah,
absolutely. We've seen a lot of the young guys getting off their dynas and wanting to get on touring bikes and go on trips like we do.
And it's exactly, we wanted to make sure, yes, touring is for touring, but we also wanted to give it a sporty angle for the next generation of riders that are into performance, which is a trend we saw in the early 2020s at Born Free and other bike shows, starting with our Lowrider ST, first development into performance and performance look and design that we saw. And we've carried that into our new Road Glide in particular.
That is a good bike.
Well, and we were happy to see this Racing League start up. I mean, because it brings people to the wall. Those bikes are so loud and so big and going that fast. When we were in Daytona watching Kyle just rip through there like 183, 184 miles an hour, just insane.
It's so raw, the experience, right? It's not just all technology and everything is controlled. It's the raw riding experience on a racetrack, which is so incredible to watch.
Well, and at Two Lane Life, we sell aftermarket motorcycle bikes.
And you can even get bucked off the bike too.
Yes,
right? You see that happening once in a while.
Yeah.
So maybe take us back just a little. So what was it like back in 7, 10, 15, when the earlier years for you as a board member?
Well, I mean, I always was a CEO. I became CEO when I was 20. I was told I would become a CEO when I was 29. So we waited a few weeks until I turned 30. So I was always in the driver's seat. And as a board member, you kind of sit there and It's like, I might do this a little bit differently. And
Right.
it's like, but your view is really from 30,000 feet up in the air. You're not really in the trenches. So you appoint a CEO and you sign off on a strategy, but you don't know what you don't know. And being in the trenches and being the CEO is just a totally different experience. So I never thought I would get that offer. I was not asking for it. We were in a pretty tricky situation with COVID just hitting, and the board just turned to me. It's like, well, you've been a CEO for 20 years. Why don't you take this role? I was like, oh, whoops. Didn't expect that. But and I never thought I would get back into the driver's seat as a CEO. But I have an incredible passion for the brand. I love Harley-Davidson. It's the greatest brand in the world. And if it wasn't for Harley, I wouldn't have done it. And I was very grateful that I was offered the job. And here I am 5 years later.
That's
It was meant to be an interim role for 6 months. So it turned out to be longer because there was a lot of work to be done.
And still work to be done, always,
It
right?
never ends. Look, a brand, a company that's been around for over 120 years, always goes through cycles, the ups and downs of what the world goes through, and I'm sort of a little piece of the puzzle in the history of an incredible brand that's going to be around for the next 120 years. And
But
more.
a piece, an important piece.
Well, it's we do our best. Having a good team, having a great dealer network. I mean, we all have to work together in order to win every day and get new generations to ride. Every generation needs to be so incentivized and be told the story how great it is to ride a motorcycle. And you grow up, you might not know what it is, right? So the next generation needs to know, just like we grew up and found that fascination of riding, getting on a bike, and that's the job of every business, every CEO, to make sure that the next generation gets into riding, and we keep riding more and more and longer. That's the key, right?
Right. Well, one of the great things that you did is when you invited all of the people that film or do YouTube videos to come out and ride with you. And what was really great about that for me and our team is meeting everyone from you on down to the people we work with and actually seeing, wow, they're riders. They love to ride. The passion for riding's there. So we got to know you guys in a different way than when we left that trip. Anytime we would ever hear anyone say, what are the people in the high ups in Harley, do they ride? Now we can say, yes, they do. They know about this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a perception of that you sit in your corner office and just don't know what's going on in the world, right? I mean, for me, that was one of the highlights of the year to meet you guys, and it was just great to meet you and other influencers and videographers and just to get your perspective, your enthusiasm for riding, and get to learn what you do every day. And it was just, to me, riding is about community.
Yes.
That's what excites me, and meeting folks that you just wouldn't usually meet and get together, go riding, but have some fun at the same time and get to know each other. And that was a real fun weekend that we had.
And it allowed us to get to know some of the other people that do what we do. And so we've done collaborations with some as a result of that.
Oh,
now,
great. Yeah.
Matt Swedlin and who was up? Was it who was up front? Travis?
Kyle or Travis?
I think it was Travis. Paul was in the back with Kyle. So the front group, we were just going.
I know you guys were going really fast. I had trouble keeping up with you guys.
Well, as soon as Matt kind of cut it loose, we all were like, yes.
And Paul's like, I wish I was up
It's like,
there with those
I'm
guys.
not going to talk about speed limits here. But that was a lot of fun. No, it was great. I really had a wonderful time, and it's all about meeting people and connecting people, and that was, and I think also for the leadership team, it was important to meet you guys.
Yeah, we created a family.
Right.
Well,
That's exactly right.
I think also for us, we've been to Santa Fe, but hadn't really explored it. And I just didn't really understand the beauty of the mountains above you.
Yeah.
I mean, we were going through some just incredible scenery up there.
Well, that's the great thing of being on a motorcycle and exploring America. You just get into corners that you would otherwise maybe not see.
Right.
And there's just so much to explore. That was always my dream. I'm trying to do that as much as I can.
So back to getting the youth to ride. I kind of think that the electric bike is going to help. His grandson is on a static and is graduated, and he's 4 or 5, and he's taking jumps, but I wonder if that, because in my day it was a mini bike.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of the entry point. And now I'm just wondering if, and even people that may be a little bit older that are riding mountain bikes that are electric, does that get us into?
I think anything that gets people to ride is a good thing. We need more riders, right? I mean, a lot of people are a little scared and they don't really know, should I not? And, and then you hear horror stories about motorcycle accidents and things like that. And I think it's the more we can do to get people to ride, whether it's through our riding academy. Mm-hmm. Next year is our 25th anniversary of riding academy, 25 years. That's incredible, right? And over 1 million folks that got the license through our riding academy over the years. That's key. We have to get more people to ride, and lowering that entry sort of threshold or barrier to riding is what it's all about. And once you are in it, I mean, it's just the most exhilarating experience. But we got to get more folks to ride. I mean, I just convinced my wife to get her license, and she asked me what I wanted for my birthday. I said that you get a motorcycle license.
That's a good one.
And she got it, with a friend of ours, Katie Tunstall, the musician. And so you met her.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, beautifully.
Well, we do like the Riding Academy, and we were doing a podcast with the Vegas dealership, Red Rock Harley.
Right.
And the girls were talking about their Riding Academy. And so we donated $500 to have 2 students be able to go into that class.
Yeah.
So we like that.
Yeah, I call her badass now because she has a motorcycle license.
An M1.
Yeah, yep, indeed.
I'm going to ask her to show me her license when
She's
let me
very
see
proud.
that.
She was scared for a while, but she's a very proud rider now.
So our wives won't do it.
They won't?
They just want to ride on them because they like to have a mimosa or something at the
here
stop,
we go.
and then they sleep and they bang you right in the back of your helmet.
That's okay.
But we still call them riders, right?
Right, absolutely.
I mean, they've done 650-mile days. They've been in rain, snow.
Put the trust into you guys.
Yes.
I don't know if they should, right?
I don't know. If I saw my wife next to me on a bike, I think it'd just be one more thing to worry about, because I know how she is. So it's like,
Yeah, well,
we have to do it with your son.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pulling wheelies and it's like, just slow down, kid. Let's just ride. We have to tell you that our 2024 model, man, we've spent a lot of time on these bikes, and
you were one of the first to get them, right? And you were riding in rain for 1,000 miles.
We took some of the
I know.
CVOs.
I followed you online. I said, I hope everything goes well.
Well, great.
I mean, we put them through their paces. That was for Sturgis of last year, the 2023 and a halves, and then we rode them all throughout the year because we were doing different shoots, and just every time we got off them, we're just like, this is going to be great. We think the new platform is going to be the new platform. And then we picked up our 2024s in May, and they've got over 15,000 miles on them now.
Wow.
And just had a great time. The dash and the screen, and I know people sometimes think about the analog, but this digital screen, and it's like you're so far in the future.
Yeah, I think so. The big screen makes a big difference too. I need my glasses too, and when I ride, and not necessarily needing them because you have a big screen. It's not a bad thing. So
Right.
I love that screen. I think visually everything is we changed everything. And the CVOs in particular are just fantastic motorcycles.
So you changed the big screen for us guys that need readers?
No, I think in general it's just like with the phone, right? It's like if the phone is too small and your screen is too small, there's a tendency for things to get bigger now.
Yeah.
And you have more functionality with a bigger screen at the same time as you have a bigger screen to look at too. So it has many benefits.
It's a sexy bike. I mean, usually when a new vehicle, whether it's a car, truck, motorcycle, comes out, everyone at first is like, I don't know. And then it grows on them and it's their favorite thing. The second I saw that, I just went, I want that bike.
The Road Glider or Street Glide? Yeah.
And I had a 21 and I loved it. I had no reason to get rid of it. But when I saw it, I have to have that.
Well, that was the intention, that it visually just looks different to our what we call Rushmore that we brought to the market over 10 years ago, that it visually differentiates, and it's a very modern version of a touring bike. You still see the history, the transition of the past models, but it's a totally new bike.
Right. But it still keeps that
Exactly.
classic Harley.
Yeah.
But so is the Street Glide. I mean, we've had opportunities to run that, and I actually ran it for 4 or 5 days in South Dakota, and I mean, what a fun bike!
Yeah,
I mean,
no, they're both great bikes.
yeah.
And it's funny because he was on one of those bikes riding the CVO in Sturgis. We got some incredible videos on the 16A of Street Glide, Road Glide. And Matt called and said, wow, that video is really great because there's both bikes.
Can we use it?
Yeah,
Of
use
course.
it, please.
When you think about the last number of years, 4 years, what are you proud of with the Harley brand?
Well, I think changing the product lineup was one of the most fundamental decisions I could have made in these last 5 years, because we had a lot of bikes that weren't really focusing on our core customer or core riders at all. There was no plan for touring, there was no plan for Softail, there was no plan for trikes. And that's the core of the business. And we were sort of dabbling into everything in all the other categories that we had little to no experience in. But we were not looking after our core business. So in this dramatic time of COVID, to put that strategy completely on its head, that was probably the most significant decision. And if we hadn't done that, we'd be in a lot of trouble right now as a company. So that, with a lot of other things that I think as a team we're proud of. There's always things you can improve and do better, but fundamentally changing the strategy in no time, that's certainly a significant decision.
For a company your size.
For a company that's been around 121 years, right? But once you realize that you're actually not looking after your core customer and you're not focusing on where your history is, that's deadly. And so that was a pretty significant change.
Well, we're glad you did it.
Well, no, we couldn't be talking about the Road Glide and the Street Glide and the STs and everything else that's coming in the next few years.
Yeah, that's going to be
and
great.
the Lowrider ST, which is a great bike as well.
Yeah,
That a lot of people are now starting to tour with.
Yeah,
Interesting.
sure.
we see a lot of that as well. So when you think about the next 5 years,
Oh boy. Well, we have a strategy that runs for 5 years. So next year is our last year. We want to make sure that we finish the fifth year okay. Hope that the interest rates are coming down, give us a bit of tailwind. We haven't really had any tailwind in the last 4 years with supply shortages and COVID in the beginning, and now a bit of a demand softness that we are seeing everywhere for discretionary products. But we have fantastic product. That's the most important. We are gaining market share as a business, which is really important. But we want to, of course, grow our core business in future years, and that's the goal for next year. So we're setting ourselves up now for a successful 25.
Hopefully that plan works great. But the public out there, they want Harleys. So you don't need to get a Harley or a motorcycle.
Right.
But you want it.
That's
when you
right.
want something, you're going to try and go the distance to get it.
Yeah. And I think we got the product, we got the story, and we got the history to make sure that that's happening in America and everywhere else in the world.
Yeah, we just have some challenging times right now. You had this devastation on the East Coast. We've got election year. You've got wars happening. It's a lot going on right now.
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty is never good for people to put their discretionary money to buy whatever it might be. And of course, we want them to buy a motorcycle.
But they have to, because that's where you get your fun.
There you go. That's
you got to get into the fun zone.
Got to get into the
Get
fun
the
zone,
positive.
especially now, right? There's too much stuff going on that is not fun. So let's have some fun and go ride. As we say, go effing ride.
Yeah. Well, and I think we've owned many Harleys over the last number of years, and I can confidently say, I mean, we've changed parts on our bikes because we like to do that. But the price point for the Road Glide and Street Glide, very good. And secondarily, you don't really have to change anything out of the box on that. The suspension changed on those bikes, which was an issue at some point, right? But to have them ride the way they ride, if you don't have any more discretionary income, you don't need to really change them.
Right.
Right.
No,
They
I
come
mean,
right out of the box and
customization
you
is
can-
important, right? Our customers love to make it their canvas to
Right.
personalize it, but it's out of the box. It's a fantastic bike, and you guys put it to test in incredible ways, which is, we're very proud that you've chosen Harley to be your horse.
It's a
Your
great
iron
horse.
Josh, what were you going to say about your bike?
It's your bike, God. What was I going to say about my bike?
I don't know.
You love it.
Well, I love my bike, but another thing you're talking about, the lowrider STs. When I got into motorcycles, granted my first Harley was a 86 FXR. Wasn't coming on trips. Took a little bit of work to get that thing going. But my brother and I grew up around sports bikes, dirt bikes, this and that. And he's an engineer, so it's always hard to communicate to him that lighter, faster is not always better for touring or whatever your purpose is. But I've just convinced him to get a lowrider ST.
Oh, nice.
So he's working on it. We're going to get out on some trips. But kind of similar to Lance's experience, when I saw the 24s, I liked them off the bat. But when we were in Milwaukee for the 120th and got out on the press ride, I just remember going through those trees and sitting behind that dash being like, I got to get one of these.
Yeah.
It was just, it did feel new. It felt, like you said, modern but classic. So
Well,
maybe
when we develop a new bike, we talk about the look, sound, and feel.
Yep.
And we have to tick every box, right? If a product looks great, doesn't sound great, it doesn't feel, then it's a no-go. It's got to tick every single box, and it's a simple formula that you have to make sure, and that needs to be true to the DNA of Harley-Davidson.
Well, he often says this, but all the travel that we do, and we were on Route 66, did the whole thing a couple of years ago. No one said I wanted to go on Route 66. There was two choices of vehicle. One was a Harley and one was a hot rod. There was no other discussion about a van or a different brand of motorcycle, or it was Harley-Davidson or a hot rod. That's how I want to travel.
Well,
When did you start riding Harleys?
2008. And I've tried a couple other bikes just because someone had it and said, here, try mine. It's really, and I've ridden them. And then every time you get back on your Harley, and it is 100% fact for anyone that's ridden, when you ride a Harley, there's this soul, there's a spirit, there's something that overcomes you, that you're racing into the future, but you can go back into the past. And you don't get that on other motorcycles. Other motorcycles, you might as well just be on a Sea-Doo or a jet ski, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
I feel the power on a Harley.
Well, it calms you down too, right? I mean, it's not like a sports bike. It's all about speed.
Well, I don't know the way we ride. Sometimes we're not calm at all.
That's
But
true.
yes, you can calm down. But I started out with a 2008 Road King. I've had 3 street glides and 3 road glides. And I don't keep bikes. Every time a new one comes out, I'm like, new. I got to get the next one, because we put a lot of miles on them.
And we're indifferent to what people ride. We just want you to ride. But when you come to our store, and we get people from all over the globe, from all over the country, weekly that come in, they're always on a Harley. It's not a different. There's maybe a couple guys that have one different bike, but it's so. And we do work with EagleRider as well, and so people bring those bikes up, and it is that noise. It is that. We need to get you out.
I know, next time.
In Southern California, when they're cutting cilantro and there's orange blossoms, and you'll just be like, yeah, I'm at Disneyland.
Well, we should plan a ride together at some point. Maybe Yellowstone. I was just in Yellowstone last week.
That'd be great.
I'd love to go on the bike through Yellowstone rather than a car.
Was it busy?
I wasn't able to get into the park. I was at Yellowstone Harley-Davidson visiting the guys, Heidi and Josh, and saying hi. And we talked about you too, and said, well, let's go for a ride at some point. So would love to do that.
We could do that. We can meet up and ride there with you, and then ride with them from the dealership.
Yeah,
and have a good time.
let's do it.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful park. And I was telling you, we had a family cabin there. And back in the old days, you would ride through the park in a car, and bears would come up,
Well, now
and
it's a
people
bit
would feed them
busier.
through. Yeah, it's a lot busier.
Yeah.
But it was not the safe zone.
Yeah.
That's the. I mean, you spoke on EagleRider for a second. Not only the obvious, you can fly in anywhere, hop on a bike, but recently being able to test out the CVOs, take them on road trips, something that's never really been a possibility. You can go anywhere you want, whether it's local or far, take a day or a week, 2 weeks, and get that experience that maybe some people have never had on metric bikes or other bikes,
Well, I mean, we've been doing a lot of that. This year we went to Philadelphia, and one of the days we had reached out to a group called the Fletcher Street Cowboys. And there's a gentleman there, L-Dog, that's been handling youth 60 years or so, at-risk youth, the gun violence there, and all the inner city challenges. And so you have to come into the yard and work and clean up. And it's the most immaculate thing in the middle of this disparate city that you can believe. It's got everything is beautiful. But he teaches the kids you have to learn the respect of the horse.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get that, then I'll let you ride. And they don't have fields. They ride in the city. But after we got done filming that, and it was pretty emotional, we got every one of the kids and we put them on the back.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't tell you this, but we did. It's EagleRider's problem, not ours. And we took them around the block.
And big smiles.
Oh my, they were yelling. They had their phones. They were taking pictures. The first time they'd been on something like that. And it was good. And we were riding in front of the horses with them. It's just an insane, wonderful experience for us, probably more than them. But they had a really good time.
So what can we do to get more people to have that experience?
We got to just keep doing what we do, and we got to get the videos out there. We got to share these wonderful stories that we do. And I mean, we have our bikes parked in front of our studio every day because we ride every day. And people that come in and they're like, we go sit on the bike. Well, I don't want, it's your, no, get on the bike and sit on it. You need to go around the block. We let them use our bikes to feel that. And they usually walk away going, oh, I think I might have to get one of these.
Right.
But I think this United We Ride and those kind of things to keep sharing with the marketplace that there's a reason to do this. And it's so hard to do one at a time, but that's the experiences that people will get when they take their wife on their first trip or they ride together, their father and son ride, and they get out and spend a night away from the house.
Sure.
Just one night. Then it leads to two, because now it's like, I can't wait to get up in the morning and get on that bike and find my next destination. And I think the more compelling stories that we can give people about that, we've been blessed for the last 4 years to do a number of the bike launches. Mm-hmm. And we get people coming in, hey, I saw you in this, that. And I think that helps when you've got people that actually associate with people that are doing it. And they see, I mean, they trust us because they see us on the road all the time. And I think getting more people that do what we do and showcasing that on our own platforms,
yeah, I would agree with
it
that.
helps.
You need a riding buddy, right? Rarely do you just think, I'm just going to go riding. I mean, you might, right? That's what got me into riding as a young kid. But you want a buddy and a community to sort of get to go with you, and I think we just have to make sure that it's such a great community to get into, and not everyone knows it. Some might even be a little bit intimidated. It's like, oh, these Harley riders, and once you're in it, you're like, they're the nicest guys, right? I mean, I've never ever had a bad experience with anybody riding a motorcycle. If anything, it's the car drivers that are the trouble, right?
Right.
And just it's just nice to meet folks along the way and become friends, break bread, and there's just no other community that can claim that, but the motorcycle community.
We try and encourage people to get into hog membership because we have so many people that want to ride with us, and we really can't take everyone on to ride because we're filming, we're riding fast, we're doing this. It's like, so a lot of people go to hog and they get in it, they go for a ride with them, and then they start going, oh, this is great, I can. and then they do.
Yeah, or any riding club or community, and that's why we started our membership and loyalty program, so that one day you just have to say, I'm here in town XYZ, where's my riding buddy? And you find somebody, right, digitally, if you can't find them at the Harley store.
I don't think we realized when we first started riding what the community was about. We knew we'd wave and you see people, but I don't think until we really got started into this kind of type of filming and showcasing, didn't realize the community and how deep it is. We've had people call us asking if we could spread their father's ashes on the it's like, because they get so entrenched into the story, and then they want to see where are we going to next? And I want to eat like that. And I want to go down that road, and I want to see that view. And I to me, it's the more we can push out like that, I think.
Well, it's a whole culture.
It's
right?
a culture.
Yeah. It's changed our life so much. I mean, it's almost like we've turned into a place where people can go to talk, tell their story, their problem, their family issues. We kind of become counselors. It really blows our minds. I mean, our wives are like, look what you guys have created in this time, because you're positive. You don't do politics, and people come to us. And we even hang up the phone, or when they walk away, we're like, did you feel that? I mean, we had a guy in Salt Lake City. He was challenged, and his father would ride him around all over on a motorcycle, and they crashed, and he passed away. Well, the son came with the mother and the brother to see us.
The son survived.
And he's hugging us, and he's like 6 foot tall. He's this big guy, and we look out at the door of the dealership. The mother's there just sobbing in tears. And once we were done she came over and hugged us and goes, you have changed our life so much before my husband passed away, but now you don't know what you mean to us. And that's pretty heavy.
Wow.
And it's all from motorcycles.
Right.
It's hard to explain.
Well, and that's the great thing about Harley-Davidson as a brand, about the culture of motorcycle riding, right? It brings people together, and it doesn't matter where you come from, what you believe in, who you vote for, whatever. Who cares, right? It's like we're friends, and
right.
I think that's unity. Is so important, especially in a time when there's so much divisiveness, and we can bring people together, which I find so incredible. There's I don't know any other brand that can say that about itself. What this brand has accomplished over 121 years.
Well, look at the 120th, how crazy that was here. And then last year, the 121st. I mean, it was almost as crazy.
I know. And everyone said, you can't do this annually. I said, why not?
Come on,
there's Sturgis every year. There's Daytona every year. Why can't we have a homecoming every year?
Right.
We were kind of on a different angle for Jelly Roll. And we didn't, I mean, what a fantastic story about that guy. He's insane. But we couldn't really tell. And then we saw a picture of a drone shot, and we were like, holy shit, there was like 40,000 people there.
It was quite something. And
we were gone 22 days on that trip. We haven't been gone that long on the road. It was pretty gnarly, but well worth it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you were there. We had a fun afternoon.
Yes.
A great time. And we heard a lot of people saying we're going from here to Sturgis. So
I've met a few folks who are in Sturgis that say, I just saw you at homecoming on stage, and it's great. It's a great ride.
But back to the brand. So over the next few years, it's all about let's just ride, right?
Let's get more people to ride. Let's keep riding. Let's make some friends, and make sure that we can grow the sport of riding. I think it's a fantastic sport, and we need more folks to get into it.
I think that's an easy thing to challenge and do.
Well, that's your challenge.
Let's do it.
There we go.
What are you most proud of personally? Not
my family, my kids.
So your kids, I saw on your ranch you have an American flag hanging.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you said they're citizens.
My family just became American citizens. So it was a long journey, and so I'm next, and proud Americans now.
That's awesome. And it's a long process, right?
It is a long process, yeah.
But hey, worth it.
But here we go.
He's most proud of his motorcycle, not his family. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
What?
Family's a pretty pretty good answer, right?
Yeah.
Well, family's everything, and the unique thing about that is my son grew up racing dirt bikes and doing freestyle. He's now selling Harley aftermarket parts. My wife, my daughter works there, and it's like the funny thing is we get an ad in the mail, and I wouldn't have thought this years ago, a Harley-Davidson credit card ad, and you see my beard from here down, and I'm like, it's addressed to my daughter-in-law and my wife, and that's how entrenched we are in the
Wow.
motorcycle world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, I have a lot of them myself. You go into dealerships and you just see.
Yes, you do. You do.
So
Celebrities.
right. So you were talking about, the impact you can have with fans via videos and social media content. Then you're talking about maybe your prior view, that 30,000 feet up view and down, to now connecting with people. What have you noticed differently now that you're kind of on the ground floor compared to before? I mean, we've noticed so much more. At one point, it's just a number, right? It's just data when you're looking at stuff. When you get to meet people face to face, shake hands, hear their story, how has that impacted some of your choices?
Well, I think that's where it starts, right? I mean, the impact you have with the product you sell, it's not just about selling. It's
Exactly.
about, and that's what just made me say yes at the time, because I just, saw this opportunity to do something meaningful. And there are very few brands that can say that for themselves.
Agreed.
And that to me is the most important thing, being able to go ride with people, seeing people being happy, getting together, become friends, and having fun riding. I mean, there are very few brands that can ever claim that, and that's incredible. When you're on the board, you meet 4 times a year, and then you go off and do your things. When you ride for the brand, you do that every day.
Yep.
You talk to your family about it, and
Yeah.
it all becomes part of your life.
And have you taken any of these beautiful bikes out for a spin?
I have not. The museum wouldn't allow me to do that. So.
Well, I was a C-level executive for a period of time, and I found the best stories and the best way to find out how your brand is doing is get out and kick the tires. And I've seen you kicking tires at Born Free, at Homecoming, at Sturgis, and I commend you for that, because not a lot of people do get out. Now, you may not be able to change everything, but you can hear things, and it helps those decisions in those rooms that you're in.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I urge my leadership team to go out and ride and go to the rallies, and the previous team was sort of saying, we don't need to go to Sturgis, we know our customer. I was like, that's a pretty arrogant way of thinking about it. And I mean, for me, that's the fun part of the job. When you get frustrated and, this job is not always easy, the best thing to do is just go out and ride and meet folks, go to Sturgis, go to Daytona, go to Born Free. So it's not just because I love to go. It's not that I just go because it's part of my job. I don't look at this as my job. I look at this as a passion. And that's the funnest part of the job, is to actually go out, ride, and meet people.
That kind of goes back to, in Willie's book, bringing custom bikes to Daytona or to Sturgis, kind of just watching people, looking at them, thinking, wow, what is that? Eventually it comes out of the factory, but he's actually sitting there talking to them, kicking tires, seeing what they like, hearing what they don't like, and making decisions from that.
Well, we talked about performance earlier, and our designers, Brett Richards, our chief designer, they saw that performance trend in the customization world in Born Free. And they said, well, we see more and more of our bikes going into performance. Maybe we should do something about it. I mean, that's where you pick up trends as well. And that's the beauty of Harley-Davidson. It's a white canvas that it looks good already being what it is, but people just take it and personalize it even more. And then you pick up a lot of trends, and that we can incorporate into our product development as well. So it's fun, but it's also good market research to see what's actually happening.
I think that's a key factor. I think people look at a bike and they're like, wow, I can make this mine, but they love the platform to make it their own. You got to have the Harley to do that.
Right. Well, but there's just no other bike that can do that.
No.
But I also, I look at what you've done this year as it relates to the bundles that you can buy. You can get a seat, you can get it through Harley OEM stuff.
Yes.
And that competes against us, but it's okay.
Well,
No, I'm kidding.
there's
But,
space for all of
but
us.
I
Absolutely.
think it's very smart to allow that canvas can still be painted at the Harley dealership.
Totally. And there's also the pre-owned motorcycles that give people opportunity to get started on a motorcycle if you don't buy a new one. And there are plenty of pre-owned bikes out there.
So you have a place in Africa. We've seen some pictures. It looks pretty epic. I mean, I don't know if it'd be good to ride Harleys there, or if it's just a place to go look at and enjoy.
It is actually. If you go back to our Pan America launch video, I was riding that bike on our place in Africa.
Wow.
So that scene with the zebras, that was me on the motorcycle. So you absolutely can ride it, but you might get a line jumping your way if you're not careful.
Well, talk about the reserve a little bit. What are you planning on doing there? What's happening now?
Yeah, I mean, sort of going back into my youth, we used to spend the weekends in our log home. We're sort of family of hunters. We loved hunting. I grew up as a hunter, on the weekend, and I just loved nature. Just being in nature was sort of my thing. It just calmed me down, and we would spend the best times of being with the family, in our log cabin in the Black Forest in Germany.
Wow.
So I always had that passion, and coming to America, same thing. I just love nature, and this country has so much incredible nature to offer. But I also had, as a young kid, a passion for Africa, believe it or not. And I always wanted to sort of venture to Africa and do something for nature. So I bought a big cattle ranch. It was actually 8 cattle ranches that I consolidated over 20 years ago and turned it into Wildlife Conservancy. And now you can experience incredible wildlife there. It was a degraded cattle ranch. There was nothing growing. There was no water, no infrastructure, or nothing. And now it's sort of almost like a little national park with lions, with leopards, with cheetahs, with elephants, giraffes, buffaloes, everything. And that's sort of the pride I have, that giving nature a break and giving an opportunity to come back to what it used to be is sort of, that's my contribution to restoring nature. And that's a home for us as well as a family. And the last sort of piece of the puzzle is to bring the rhino back onto the conservancy, which we just got approval for. So I'm very proud that in terms of conservation, that's sort of the biggest thing I've ever done. And leaving, piece of nature behind that is better than it used to be. I'm very proud of.
So the kids, do they love it when?
Kids love it. We call them bush babies. So they sort of grew up in the bush, in nature. They're nature lovers. They want to be out in nature all the time, whether it's here in America or in Kenya or wherever we are. We're not city dwellers, that's for sure.
So water's always a problem. And I think last time we talked, you've got multiple lakes that you've put on the
we're just
property.
building the largest dam on private land in Kenya, and because water scarcity is a huge issue, we build the whole infrastructure with roads, hundreds of miles of roads, dams, 14 dams and boreholes, and water is key. And then we also have cattle. We run cattle we have about 3,000 heads of cattle.
And you run them in the like, you don't separate them.
Nope. We just have to boma them, so we put them into corrals at night so that the lions don't eat them too often.
Wow.
Happens once in a while, right?
So when you walk around property, you have to have your rifle just in case?
In the night, you get a call at night and says, well, the lions are here, and then you just walk them away from the corral. So
that's heavy.
It's a fun experience.
Yeah.
Just walk the lions away.
Now, you had a plane there as well.
I do. I still have a plane there. Actually, I had 2 planes. For those who still remember the movie Out of Africa with Robert Redford and Meryl Streep, I had that plane from the movie, and I actually just auctioned it off earlier this year at an auction to raise funds for a rhino sanctuary, and I still have a bush plane. So in addition to riding a motorcycle, I'm also flying little planes, and I got my license when I was 24, but it's only bush planes. And just like on a motorcycle, I don't talk to anybody. I just listen to music and just fly along. And that's the best way to see your neighbor, because otherwise it takes hours to see them. So you just fly in for breakfast or a cup of tea.
That's amazing. So that must be a whole nother experience, just being able to take off and being up there flying around.
Yeah, it is. And I get vertigo if I go too high. So
Really?
I keep it low
Any
to the
loops
ground.
or-
Yeah.
How many people fit in that plane?
Just two.
Just two.
Yeah, it's a Super Cup from the 70s. It's a bush plane with Tundra tires.
The big ball
The big
type.
balls, that you can land anywhere.
Wow. And they have a short takeoff and a short landing.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So we started the conversation by talking about you in Germany. What brought you to America? And
Yeah, I always thought that I wanted to be American and live in America. It was
This brought you to
my
America.
cowboy. That's actually true. So watching westerns and having that sort of dream of being in America one day and experiencing the Wild West. That was the first dream. But it was interesting because when I started, I went to America, and then as a 24-year-old, I said, I don't want to work in Europe. I want to go to America. And I turned down a lot of job offers I had, but I got one to actually work in America. And that was my first job. And I always felt as a 24-year-old in Germany, it's so conservative. They will never give you responsibility as such a young guy. But in America, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old you are, what you look like, you get a chance. And
It's the Wild West.
It is, and that got me to America, and it never left me. I always wanted to live here. So yeah, my first job was in New York, and my first trip as a 22-year-old across America was from New York to Phoenix and LA, and I got hooked and made it my home ever since.
And you were one of the youngest CEOs for the size of company that
I was. It was a pretty
right.
rundown company, almost bankrupt, and so it was hard to find somebody, I guess.
I'm wearing Adidas. Sorry.
There we go. Well,
well, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience? And
well, I just want to thank you guys for what you're doing. I'm a big fan of your show. I'm a big fan of what you do. I follow you. When I look at my Instagram, that's all I do. I don't do TikTok or anything. No time for that. But I think it's fantastic what you do for the sport of riding and telling, singing the gospel of motorcycle riding. And so thank you for everything you do every day.
Well, thank you for being with us. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know there's some dealer meetings and things going on, and you're busy.
I'm glad we were able to make this work.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next time you're coming out to the shop, though.
I will. I will, promise.
Fly out.
Yeah, exactly.
With the Cub.
I used to do a lot of flying in America, actually, as well. Yeah, not anymore.
Well, thanks, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this, and hey, we'll see you
down the road.